So Joe Biden is up to the sleaziest tricks imaginable in this election. A new poll by a firm linked to Joe Biden is testing messages designed to undercut support among Democrats for Medicare for All, one of the most contentious issues splitting the party's top presidential contenders. The survey, commissioned by the centrist Democratic think tank Third Way, found that primary voters start off favoring the government-run healthcare system by a margin of 70% to 21%, but can be persuaded to oppose it. The study showed that Democrats are more swayed by the arguments that the program would impose a heavy cost on taxpayers and threaten Medicare for senior citizens. The poll was conducted by Lisa Grove of Anzalone Lists Grove Research. Her partner, John Anzalone, is the chief pollster and an advisor to Biden, who opposes Medicare for All and wants to make government-run insurance optional. Okay, so I told you. There was a poll that came out the other day, headline was in The Hill, that said Biden's healthcare plan is more popular than Medicare for All. I immediately clicked the link, immediately went to the way they framed the questions, and it was incredibly misleading. So understand, it's designed, it's on purpose. You could ask a question in a variety of different ways and totally change the response you get. So if you frame it as, do you want a total government takeover of healthcare? People go, whoa, no, that sounds extreme. But if you frame it as, do you want Medicare for all? 70%. So they're asking the same thing, but in drastically different ways, and they're fishing for a certain response. So that's why pollsters need to strive as much as possible to be objective and to try to take out any kind of biased weasel words that might tilt it in one direction or the other. But in the case of Joe and his team, they're actively trying to undercut and undermine Medicare for All, knowing full well it's actually popular. So just understand, because there's going to be new polls coming out. They're going to say, oh, no, it's not popular. Always go and read the framing of the question, because I guarantee you in 100% of those instances, you'll read the framing and go, that's really misleading. They actually did, there was a poll not that long ago where they framed it as, do you support Medicare for All if it totally eliminates private health insurance? And people ended up saying no. But then when they asked again a follow-up question, what if I told you it eliminates private health insurance, but you get to keep your doctor and you get to keep your hospital? Then it bounces right back up. So again, it's all in the framing. It's all in the way you ask the question, and they're trying to undermine it on purpose. Now, this leads to another area in which I was correct, which is, what did I tell you guys? When they asked the question about, is it going to raise taxes on the middle class? It's a trick. It's a trap. Now, a lot of people recently have been going after Elizabeth Warren. People to Elizabeth Warren's right have been going after Elizabeth Warren saying, and Mayor Pete is a perfect example of this, you're being evasive when you're asked that question if it'll raise taxes. Now, my response to that was, yeah, she's being evasive because it's a really stupid question, and it's a got you question, and there's no way to answer it the way you want them to answer it, so you have to be thoughtful, and you have to actually explain what's going on here, okay? Now, they found that this argument, this specific argument of it's going to raise taxes on the middle class, that's the most poignant argument to turn people against Medicare for All. That's what they found. Which perfectly explains why I've been screaming from the beginning. Now we just have empirical data to back it up. But I've been screaming from the beginning, what? What's the answer to that question? Oh, you want to raise taxes on the middle class to pay for Medicare for All? Here's how you answer. No. And they're going to go, what? And what do you say? Well, we're eliminating the private tax that you have to pay to get your health care, premiums, copays, deductibles, so on and so forth. We're eliminating the private tax, and we're raising the public tax, but you end up paying less in the public tax for better health care. So no, I'm not raising your taxes because you have to factor in the private tax of which I'm eliminating. That's it. That's how you answer it. Why? Because you deny them the soundbite. Now, recently, I hate to tell you guys this, but it's true, Bernie has been answering that question with, yes, I'm going to raise taxes. And he goes on to explain, the cost is less, so on and so forth. But what he doesn't understand is, you're giving them their soundbite and that's all they need because now they're just going to run the headlines, and most people only read the headlines. They don't read the article, and the headline is going to say Bernie Sanders wants to raise taxes on the middle class. People are going to shut off and go, oh, that's okay. Well, I don't like that. I don't like that answer. I don't want the taxes raised on the middle class. So he's almost a victim of his own straightforwardness here, because you have to be clever and you have to be crafty while still being honest, but you have to be clever and crafty with how you deal with these snakes. And that's what they are. They're snakes. So there's a reason why they found out that, oh, this is the most poignant argument against Medicare for all that actually lands even with Democratic voters, is when they think, oh, it's going to raise my taxes. Because the gut reaction when you hear it's going to raise my taxes is not they immediately think, but my private tax is eliminated. They just think it's added on top of what they already pay. And that's why the gut reaction is against it. And that's why they've all been pushing this argument. That's why every mainstream media outlet, when they ask the question, they ask this. So you want to raise taxes, huh? Isn't it weird? Every debate they've asked that question. Why? Because they know it's going to undercut Medicare for all. Same thing with all the corporate Democrats who bring it up, and that's what they harp away on, whether it's Cloud Boot Jar or Biden or Mayor Pete now. Like, they're doing that on purpose because they've learned empirically it's the best way to undercut Medicare for all. And unfortunately, Elizabeth Warren is too wordy in her response to it, and Bernie Sanders is too direct, and he's not being clever enough in his response to it. And so they're not effectively defending it, and that upsets me. Because I told you guys, how long ago did I start making that argument? I started making it months ago. That when they say, oh, you want to raise taxes on the middle class? You say, no, I don't, because I'm eliminating private taxes. They don't know how to lead with the point that undercuts the soundbite that they're fishing for. That you have to deny them that soundbite. Soon as you give them that soundbite, it's over. It's over, because they're just going to run the headlines. The headlines are misleading. Most people only read the headlines. That's it. Your support goes down. So I'm telling you guys, we're not playing fucking checkers here, dog. We're not playing checkers. And unfortunately, there's a reaction from our side like that is what's happening. And Joe Biden and his disgusting cronies, and I just realized Trump is over my shoulder, which is the wrong thing for this entire story. So now I will move. There we go. There's the embalmed version of Joe Biden. That was wrong, the whole story. But anyway, I forgot where I was completely. Biden and his team are purposely working overtime to undercut the popularity of Medicare for all. That's what's happening. And you have to recognize that that's what's happening.